All right. Welcome, guys, to our celebration live. 250,000 subscribers. Grateful to you. And my surprise guest is my son. Say hi. His name is Tad. T-A-D. Tad Darkins. And he wanted to make an appearance. Yeah, look at him. Look, he can't help it, right? Because they're kids. So really quick before we get started, some disclaimers, I guess. Make sure that you put in the chat right now where you're from, right? City, state, or just state. And if you haven't already, I know you are a subscriber, but one of the best ways to support our channel is to buy us a cup of coffee or grab yourself a t-shirt. So anytime during the stream, if you want to support us, you can do that by going to the link in the description. Also, very important thing, pray for the hurricane survivors, even people who did not survive. If you are from that area, and maybe I guess you do have internet connection, because how else would you be watching this? We're grateful that you are okay, but definitely send our love and our prayers to anybody that you may know that isn't okay. Obviously, we're in California. We don't have hurricane problems. We have fire problems, but where I live, we're not really affected by that. We're more affected by how hot it gets here. So, you know, I'm very grateful, and he's very grateful too, right, buddy? All right. So as I get into this, I'll have my wife come and get him now. You want to grab him? Thank you. There you go. All right. Perfect. Okay. So make sure I'm all set up here. All right. So a couple of things we're going to go through in this live stream. First, I want to talk about you guys. And then secondly, we're going to recap the election up to this point. We're going to preview the VP debate and then talk about some special announcements for my subscribers, of course. Now, one of the biggest things I want to address up front, and I've seen a lot of comments about this, is, well, Dvory, you have, you know, your channel has grown so fast. What's been happening, right? Like, how does that happen? And I get this question all the time. And I think that I don't really have an answer except to say that it's because of you. You know, if you didn't watch the video at all, if you didn't like it, then you wouldn't watch it and YouTube wouldn't recommend it. So part of it is really due to you guys subscribing to the channel and obviously sharing it and watching it. That's a big part of it. If people don't really like what you have to say, they're not going to watch the video, of course. And YouTube is not going to recommend it. So what does that mean? That means the answer to the question is you. You are the reason why this channel has grown so fast and will continue to grow, because we are committed to, you know, expressing the truth in a very common sense way. And I can't do it without you guys, right? So that's the bottom line to that question. So remember, if you guys want me to answer your question, you're going to have to do a super chat, because we do have quite a few people here. And it'll make it easy for me to get to your questions. That's the first thing. Second thing, please tell us where you're from, what city and state. And so we could see who we have all around here. Now, let me see if I can put this on the screen for people to see what the chat is saying. And as I do that, let me get into a couple of things, right? So this election obviously grabs so many people's attention. I don't think there's ever been a time in my life where politics has been such a topic that's dominating people's attention. And clearly on all platforms, it doesn't matter what platform you go to, you can't escape it. So if you can't escape it, you might as well lean into it and try to make sense of it all. And that's why we have this channel, to help you guys hear a different approach or a different perspective that's rooted in common sense. Now, listen, you guys already know I'm going to be voting for Trump. I do support Trump. I also am not stupid. Trump is not a perfect person. He has plenty of flaws, just like everybody else who runs for office. I don't think you could ever get to the level of presidency if you are not corrupt in some way or have done something that could be looked at as being corrupt. Listen, you don't become a billionaire because you're the nicest person on the planet, okay? We can all agree to that. But that doesn't mean that the purpose he's serving is not in the best interest of us as Americans. It is. What he stands for, what he represents, is what this country needs right now. Because if we allow Kamala Harris to get into the White House, she will be the most progressive, radical leftist to ever be president. And that is not a compliment. That is a bad thing, okay? I would rather take mean tweets. I would rather take personal insults. I would rather take deranged statements from my commander in chief as long as he delivers on what he said he's going to do. I'd rather do that than to elect someone who's very nice, but the results end up making this country fall off of a cliff. No, thank you on that. And I think that's what this election comes down to, personality over personality. And you're going to have millions of people who don't understand this stuff. You know, sometimes when I'm making these videos, guys, I think to myself, man, but I've already said this already. You know, I've talked about this repeatedly already. And I have to remind myself every single time that there's so many people who obviously don't follow this. That's number one. There's also people who don't understand what's going on. And so what's the point? The bottom line is people are not informed, right? And sometimes they're misinformed, right? Because of social media and the corporate media. When they want to talk about misinformation or disinformation, I mean, geez, the corporate media is no help. So I look at this channel as a way to help people see what's going on through a more truthful way. But the reason why, and the whole point of what I'm saying is that so many people are going to vote for her because they don't care about the truth. The truth doesn't matter to them. What matters to them is how they feel. That's really what it comes down to. I was just doing a video where there's a huge gender gap between Kamala Harris and Trump. And this isn't to say that women don't know what they're talking about or they're stupid or anything like that. It's to show that educated women who've gone to college have been indoctrinated with liberal ideology. And liberal ideology is what? Political correctness. Don't say that. Don't say this. Be sensitive, right? And when you're overly sensitive, we can never have a truthful conversation, right? And Donald Trump is probably the most honest when it comes to what he says or what comes out of his mouth. And so it obviously offends so many people. And the people it offends most are college educated women. They can't handle how political incorrect he may be, I guess, if that is the correct term. They don't like how blunt or direct he is. I love it. I think that's what we need. I think that we've been so careful and so sensitive that it's gotten us in trouble as a country. So overall, that's what this election is coming down to. And before we move into some of these clips and talk about more of the election and the VP debate, let me read some of your guys' answers to the questions that I asked when I started this stream. Let me see where people are at. We got Utah. I like that. Very beautiful place. I've been there a couple of times. Salt Lake City. When I was in the military, there's a base over there I went to. New Mexico. Okay. I've never stopped in New Mexico. I've driven through it, though. My wife wants to go to visit. So let us know some good places. Let's see here. What else we got here? Nevada. Very hot. Florida, of course. South Carolina. Okay. Idaho. Wow. Georgia, Savannah, Georgia. I know where that's at. Seattle. Wow. Okay. Canada, Ohio, Compton, California. Love it. The Philippines. What time is it over there? Let's see here. Northern Virginia, Michigan, Louisiana. Okay. Las Vegas, Texas, San Antonio, New Jersey. Love it. Let's see here. What else we got? Athens, Georgia. I know where that's at. Another Seattle, Long Island, Illinois, San Diego. Okay. Redlands, California. I know where that's at. Melbourne, Australia. Austin, Texas. We went to Austin, Texas. That was a nice trip. The Bronx. We went to New York when COVID was... It was still COVID, but it was when they started to open up New York. And so my wife and I, we got to see New York City in a way that I don't think anyone has ever seen New York City. We got to walk around New York City without anybody being on the sidewalk. Like, that's how it was. And we got to go on to the double-decker buses. No one was on the bus. There was no line to see any of the attractions. It was a great experience, by the way. I don't think that's ever going to happen again. Boston. Okay. North Carolina. Beijing, China. No way. Let's see here. Puerto Rico. Huntsville, Alabama. Been there. There's a base over there too. Waco, Texas. Waco, Texas, I mean. Simi Valley. Okay. Cedar Lake, Indiana. Never heard of it. Let's see here. San Fran. We were just in San Fran. Let's see here. Orange County. Used to live there. South Africa. Welcome. Nigeria. Welcome. Massachusetts. Wow. So we have everybody from everywhere. That's really good to see. And it just shows you that common sense is not just restricted to America. It is all around the world. And I think one of the biggest things that when I was growing up, when I was raised by my mother who adopted me, let's see here. Hold on, guys. My computer is tripping out on me. Let me go back here. There we go. All right. So let me just cover a couple of things about me, and then we'll move to this stuff that we want to talk about politics wise. So if you guys watch one of those videos I said about my story, which was both my parents were drug addicts. I ended up being adopted by my great aunt. So my grandmother's sister, she was a single parent. She was divorced. So I didn't have a father growing up. But believe it or not, my mother actually voted for George Bush. She supported him, back in early 2000s that was. So the way she raised me was pretty conservative. She didn't let me get away with anything, of course. I didn't get a chance to truly play any video games. I was outside most of the time. And I think a lot of people in this stream can relate to that type of childhood. I don't even think that exists today for most kids. I think most kids are playing video games and they're on their cell phones. Our children won't be doing that. They'll be outside one way or another. Anyways, so I went to the military. I joined when I was 17. I went to the Army when I was 17. And originally I was trying to join the Marines, but my mother, she wasn't going for it. She just couldn't handle the fact that I would become a Marine and she may never see me again. So she let me join the Army. That was pretty funny. And I remember when the Marine recruiter tried to come to the house, she kicked him off the property. She did not let us sit down and have a conversation. Anyways, I only bring this up because one of the biggest lessons that my mother would always, I guess, drill into my mind was the term common sense. Even though there were times where I felt really stupid because, when you're a kid, you do stupid things. And when you don't have a dad, you really do stupid things. It was always about common sense. And so when I went to the military, I excelled very well because of how strict she was with me. And I say that because of why. The reason why this country is in trouble because people don't parent that way anymore. They let their kids get away with everything. And so what does that do? It produces a new generation of leaders who have zero backbone. They don't want to put their foot down on anything. They don't want to hold anybody accountable, let alone themselves. And so you have this whole progressive movement of like, who cares? Let's just be compassionate. No, there has to be some type of law and order. There's got to be some type of accountability. How else will people actually learn? So that's why I really excelled in the military because I felt like I was already in the military the way that I grew up. And I got to live in Houston, Texas when I was in middle school and a little bit of high school because my mother got breast cancer briefly while I was a kid there. And what's funny is she was already a tough parent. I went to go live with people who, so they were considered to be like godchildren to my mother, whatever. Well, the husband was a retired master sergeant from the Army, and he was this is the type of guy he was, right? He'd be like, all right, you guys can't go outside and play unless your room is clean. So me and their son, my cousin, we would clean the room and everything. And then he'd come in And we're thinking the room is clean. And you know where he goes to look? He looks in the corner. And he's like, oh, what are you talking about? There's lint and dust right there. This room's not clean. You guys are not going outside. I mean, that's how it was. These people were like really strict. It was crazy. And we went to church like Monday through Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It was just church all day long. And that's how it went for me for a few years. And that was in Houston. And then why am I telling you guys this story? Well, the bottom line, and I'm not going to go down a whole rabbit hole. The bottom line is because we need more conservative values in the way that we govern. See, we don't have a problem with conservative values in our house. A lot of people actually grow up that way, especially millennials. Anybody who's a millennial or older, you grew up in a house that was more than likely conservative. Not everybody, but most people did. And but for some reason, that doesn't translate to, what's happening with our government, what's happening with policies, things of that nature. And it's like the polar opposite. But the problem is we have results to show that conservative values are probably the better answer than progressive policies. So that's why I was telling you guys those stories, because I owe a lot of why I am where I am today because of my upbringing. And I know a lot of people in my situation wouldn't be where I am today. So a lot of it obviously has to do with the plan that God has for me. And part of that plan right now is to bring the truth to you guys, to give you guys a voice, and to put more common sense into this conversation, what's happening in America and politics and just socially. Men playing in women's sports, that's not common sense, man. Giving puberty blockers to kids, that's not common sense. Removing God and religion from school, that's not common sense. Sending billions of dollars overseas and never really addressing some of the core issues of inside of our own society here in America is not common sense. I was just watching a movie, and it just reminded me how there are so many schools across America that are they're just poor condition. And I think to myself, man, it wouldn't even cost a lot of money for them to just fix this, But what are they doing with the money instead? Well, they're sending it to overseas, and that's why we have the problems we have. Now, let's get to this election. I just wanted to give you guys a little bit more about me. Yes, my beautiful wife, she is moderating the chat right now. We have a son. He's about to be 1 year old in December. He's a bundle of joy. He goes 100 miles an hour, and I don't think he's ever going to slow down, which is a great thing. We want that, especially when he gets to be an adult. I want him to, go out there and get it, of course. But we still live in California, unfortunately. But at least, listen, I think I think you guys would all agree with me here that we've done a lot of complaining. Okay, there's been a lot of complaining with people who live in California and people who moved away from California. There's been a lot of complaining with the direction our country is going. And all of that is valid. But don't forget what's really happening with the rest of the world. The great thing about my perception is that I've been to Afghanistan. I've been to Iraq. I mean, I don't care. I'll live in California for the rest of my life if that meant I didn't have to live in Afghanistan. So maintain your perspective, okay? Don't go down a road of depression because of the things you don't like about what's happening with the country. Maintain your faith, right? Maintain your optimism, and then get active in your own way. And that's different for everybody. Some people right now are knocking doors trying to get votes. Some people are chasing ballots. Some people are they're public speakers on politics. Some people do what I do. We're creating videos on YouTube. Some people support those people, right? You're supporting me by watching this. But I think the number one thing that we all can do to say that we're part of the solution is to what? Be registered to vote and then actually show up and vote. I know plenty of people who complain and they're not going to vote. So don't complain. That's the interesting part about it. It's like in California. Oh, we're so fed up with Gavin Newsom. Yeah, but did you vote in that recall election? My wife and I did. We voted to get him out of there. But there's a lot of people who didn't do it. So the biggest way that you can be part of the solution is to make sure you're registered to vote and then actually show up and vote, because there are people who are registered to vote and they still don't show up. So make sure that you show up, of course. Anyways, so having said all that, this election, like people say, is the most important election of our lifetime. Every election is that way. But again, maintain your perspective and faith. Regardless of what happens, it's not the end of your life, right? It's not the end of the world. One way or another, the work does not stop, because if Trump wins the election, he's only going to be the president for 4 years. So we're going to be back at this in the next 4 years again. And if the Democrats lose, they will be ready next time around. Yeah. Like they were ready in 2020. And the Republicans were caught slipping. They didn't do all the work they've done recently over the past years. That is the Republicans. They did a poor job at getting their base to be registered. They did a poor job of getting their base to turn out. And so I think that absolutely affected the election in 2020 when it came to the votes for Trump. It's a different story this time around. And the RNC, they've out-registered the Democrats over the past few years. So the numbers tell the story. It's not an opinion, it's just facts. And we're already seeing that in the early voting turnout in Virginia, where there's a lot of counties where they have a 2% increase in turnout for Republicans. So that is good news. That means we're trending in the right direction. I say that because if Trump wins, the Democrats will obviously regroup, and they will go into overdrive to make sure they're never in this position again. Because remember, what is the difference between, for people who don't really follow politics and you're wondering, why does this even matter? Oh, it matters. I used to be that person that was like, I don't want to hear all that. I don't want nothing to do with politics. And I understand why we feel that way, because it's either one, you feel like it's a distraction, or two, it's negative and filled with drama. But if you can get past all that, you'll see the value in why you should be at least aware of politics. You don't need to be obsessed and know everything about it, but you just need to be aware of what's going on in your own city, in your own state, and generally federally what's going on with the political parties. And here's what's going on. The Democrats have already shown through results that they're looking to change the U.S. Constitution to get what they want. The Republicans have not been doing that. The Democrats are willing to change the Supreme Court. They want to change Title IX to allow men to play in women's sports. They want to censor the media. They want to control the media and tell the media, no, don't report this, don't report that. They've already proven to collude with social media companies where they've censored people off platforms. The Democrats will go to the ends of the earth to get what they want. Some people believe they absolutely cheated in the last election. So why do I say all that? Is because the Democrats, they speed up. There is no restrictions in their mind. The only restrictions that exist are restrictions for people that don't agree with them. That's the difference. Republicans, on the other hand, or conservatives like myself, I don't care if you support Kamala Harris. I'm not losing sleep over that. I don't have Kamala derangement syndrome. I don't have Joe Biden derangement syndrome. I don't care about the corporate media and all. I don't lose sleep over that. But there are a lot of people who lose sleep over the fact that you might support Trump. There's a lot of family and friends and coworkers who will look at you in a MAGA hat, or if you say I'm voting for Trump. That's why Trump is going to have millions of people who show up in this election and are going to vote for him, and they're not going to say anything because they don't want the backlash. And so I'm saying this because Republicans have become the party that the Democrats used to be. Believe it or not, the Democrats used to be the party of the working class. They used to be the party of free speech. They used to be the party of common sense. That's all gone out the window. I always say that the Democrats have been hijacked by progressives. And if you're trying to figure out what is a progressive, Just think of California. That's a progressive. Okay. No restrictions, just whatever comes to our mind. I don't care if this policy only applies to one person out of the 44 million who lives in California. Let's pass a law for that one person. That's California. Right. And so conservatives in today's world, not conservatives from the 90s, conservatives of 2024 are technically moderate Democrats from the 1990s, believe it or not. Now, you'll have more hardcore conservatives in different states, like Alabama, Louisiana, Arkansas. They don't believe in compromising the other way either. They don't believe there's zero compromise when it comes to abortion, according to them and people in Utah. And so why do I say all this? Well, because this election is coming down to the ideologies. Progressives want to speed up. They want to change the law. They don't want any restrictions on anything that they want to do, except restrictions on people who disagree with them. Republicans, on the other hand, they just want to stop the bleeding. Okay. They want to stop the madness. They want to stop the woke ideology in the school system, with our laws that are trying to be passed, like all this pandering and compassion towards illegal migrants, but they don't provide the same level of compassion or attention towards existing citizens, let alone veterans. And I find it so funny that maybe if my wife would allow me, maybe if I just became homeless for a week, crossed the border into Mexico, made sure I didn't take a shower for at least 2 more weeks, starved myself, then tried to cross the border again, I wonder how fast I could get benefits if they weren't able to identify that I was a citizen. I wonder. Oh, I already know what the answer is. It's not going to take very long for me to get paid. But if I'm a veteran and I've served many, many years in the military, understand something. It's like pulling teeth to get disability. So that's why I feel the way that I do about that. Now, let me check in with your questions, and then we'll move to the VP debate that's coming tomorrow. And why does it matter, or will it matter at all? Let's see here. Some super chats. $50 from Brian Cardoza. Thank you, Brian. I really appreciate you. I'm a Vietnam veteran. Hold on. Let me put this up here so we can all see it on the screen. There we go. I'm a Vietnam veteran, saluting you, a fellow Clovisite. Wow. So you live in Clovis. Isn't that crazy? Who served in the Middle East? I'll meet you at the 500 Club for lunch when I'm in town. Blessings from Amazing Grace Christian Ministries. God bless you, sir. Thank you for that. That is small world. Let's see here. Let's go to $20 from Miss T. She says, thank you for your service. Truly appreciate your content. God bless you and your family. Yes, God bless you too. Thank you. From Linda, $20. She says, we enjoy your show. Thank you, Linda. Appreciate you. Whoa, Matthew Gardner, $100. Wow. Let's see here. First and foremost, from one service member to another, keep up the excellent work. Keep bringing the truth on the daily. May God bless you. Well, thank you very much, Matthew. Really, really appreciate it. I don't have any words to say except thank you for your service as well, brother. Appreciate you. All right. Tataina, excuse me if I butchered it. You're easy to listen to. You don't curse. You're courteous. You get to the point. You're a Christian. Yes, I am. Love your channel, brother. God bless you and your family. I'm in Canada. God bless you too. Thank you. Let's see here. MD, Boston, Dallas here. Hey, so MD, if you live in Dallas, put in the chat, is that a good place to look to consider moving? I want to know. I just love that you make brilliant points while still humanizing the opposing side. Yeah. Listen, I'm on X, as some of you guys already know. And I spend more time doing these videos than actually posting on X, for the record. But when I am on X, to just be very fair with you guys, there are times where I see people on the conservative side doing things that I would like to just, say, hey, can you cut it out? Because that's not helpful. And what I mean by that is sometimes they're doing too much with the rhetoric. Not that they're being too mean, is that sometimes they're not taking the time to figure out if what they're saying is true or false. So I don't like that. And of course, people who are on the left, I mean, they're just so deranged. I mean, they don't care about any type of truth. They're definitely, I would argue that people on the left are really the true danger to democracy, if you want to call it. I mean, this isn't a democracy for the record, right? So it's funny they even use those terms. It's a republic, which I don't know if you guys know this. I did educate myself one day because I was really curious. Why is it called the Democratic Party? Why is it called the Republican Party? Why do people say our country is a democracy when it isn't? What is it exactly? Well, of course, our country is a republic. And you know what essentially a republic is? It's a limited democracy, meaning there's elements of a democracy, but there's some limitations on that, because if it was a democracy, we'd be in trouble. I mean, that would mean that, progressives would take over this country without any resistance whatsoever, because New York and California have more people than Texas and Florida. So if it was a majority rules, we would be in trouble for sure. And so, yeah, listen, there's nothing wrong with criticizing both sides. I think it's fair to say that Trump is a candidate that doesn't listen to anyone but himself. I think that is fair to say. And I think there's a good reason why. When you've survived 2 assassination attempts and you and your family has been persecuted, dragged through the courtroom on countless times, you've lost important relationships because the DOJ has gone after people that you care about. A lot of people had to distance themselves from you because if they talk to you or donate to your campaign, FBI shows up at their door. There's been a lot of political backlash from people who support Trump. I mean, if you're in his position, I don't think you would be a very nice person either. On top of what they've done to the country, I think you'd be angry too. I think you would call Kamala Harris stupid. Absolutely you would. I think you would call Joe Biden stupid. I think you would sometimes fly off the handle. Now, that's if you are similar to him, where you're going to be blunt and direct. Of course, you're going to say those things. So it's a gift and a curse, right? So there are times that we all would want Trump to say things in a different way, but it doesn't. That's not fair. That's like me trying to make you become something you're not. That's not who Trump is. He's not a politician. He's not going to just go in circles with people. He's going to tell you what it is and whether you like it or not. And we have the polar opposite in Kamala Harris, who can't say anything of any type of substance. She can't say anything that is clear unless she's reading from a teleprompter. So I guess you're going to have to pick and choose the type of president you want, right? We know Kamala Harris isn't going to do anything right for this country because the record shows that. So I know I went out on a tangent there, but I just want to address that point that common sense is looking at both sides of the equation and arriving at the obvious conclusion, which is that Trump is definitely the best option right now, because if he gets into office, we have an opportunity to slow this progressive movement down and stop them from trying to change the U.S. Constitution and, drive this country off of a cliff. Let's see here. Josh Ladd says, I used to hate Trump till I started watching you. Wow. And saw the lies of media. Thank you for opening my eyes. Thank you for your service, Trump 2024. Well, good for you, Josh Ladd. Yeah, there is a clip, and I'll show it later on, of this this black guy, which is stupid, I have to say it that way. He's on social media, and I guess he takes what the media has said about Trump, and then he actually plays the clip that they're saying. Like, for example, the whole Charlottesville lie. They're very fine people. He played that clip. It's going to be a bloodbath. He played that clip. and he was debunking all these lies that the media told him that makes Trump racist. And so I'm glad you're able to see the light on that. Let's see here. Amateur Philosopher says, congrats, how is the race this tight when Trump has the Teamsters and seems to be doing really well with other previous Democrat strongholds? ? So I guess this is a good segue. So the reason why I guess you could say that the race is close, it really comes down to two things. It's close because Kamala Harris is a weak candidate. That's one. If she was a strong candidate, she'd be blowing Trump out of the water. She's not. That's just facts. Okay, that's just the way that it is. And then the second reason is because clearly the corporate media has a personal vendetta against Trump, and there are times he doesn't do himself any favors, of course. So he feeds into that. Listen. Trump continues to give them reasons to talk about him. I heard this statement the other day that I thought made a lot of sense. Sometimes less is more. Trump could just disappear for the rest of October and still win the election, because at that point, the media wouldn't have anything to talk about when it comes to him. I mean, the only reason why people are so mobilized for Kamala Harris is because they hate Trump. So part of it is he's giving them food to eat in regards to that. But most of it is because they hate him so much. They've dedicated their resources to programming people to hate him, even if it's just based on lies, right? There was a Frontline documentary that was 100% negative for Trump and 100% positive for Kamala Harris. They bring on these people for Kamala. This is on PBS, which is funded by the government. I don't know if you guys know that. They bring on these people and, Kamala Harris, she's such a nice person. She cares about people. Her character is top notch. And then they bring on people, oh, no, Trump is evil. He only cares about himself. And that's the whole point of the documentary, was to prop up Kamala Harris and then obviously diminish Trump. But the problem that the corporate media has, and it goes to your question, it's close because on the other side, people don't buy into that. There's a lot of people who have common sense like you and me, and we can see through that, right? We know that social media is fake. We know that the news largely is fake too. I mean, when it comes to a natural disaster, I don't mind watching CNN, right? But when it comes to reporting on politics, I'm not watching that because they have a narrative to push, right? They don't really have a narrative when it comes to a hurricane, for an example. So yeah, I don't buy into that stuff, and I don't think you guys do either. And that's why it's close. There's a lot of people who, they just look at what the results are, and the results show when Trump was the president, a lot of people made more money and they didn't have the same problems they have today. Right? All right. Okay, so hold on. I think we got... Okay, I'll save these super chats for a little later on to circle back on. So first issue is this VP debate. Okay? VP debate. Does it matter in the end? No, it doesn't really matter. Barring some crazy catastrophic event that takes place during the debate, not really. The polls show that both bases are dug in and they're not changing their mind. So the question then becomes, will anything during the debate sway an undecided voter? I don't think so either. Because I don't think the media allows people to make up their minds. The media is so filled with bias that it's hard for people to figure out what's going on. So I think undecided voters, how many undecided voters are left? I think they're just going to either vote for Trump or third party or sit out. I don't think they're going to vote for Kamala Harris. Not at this point. I don't think she's done anything to earn their vote. I don't think Tim Walz during that debate will do anything to earn their vote. Now, we did say last time that Trump was going to demolish Kamala during the debate, and she was going to melt down in that debate, and clearly she didn't do that. So she was well prepped. Credit where credit is due. Obviously, in the end, we know who truly won the debate, because if you look at the polls, she didn't gain any more votes off that. So did she win the debate? No, she didn't, right? Because she was too obsessed with Trump. Anyways, so will J.D. Vance and Tim Walz make a difference? I don't really think so. Now, I'm hoping that because CBS has already acknowledged that they're not going to be fact-checking this debate, that, J.D. Vance is going to be able to mop the floor with Tim Walz and hold him accountable and fact-check him and question him and, question his stolen valor stuff, right? That's what I really want to see. And there's a lot of people that I found on X complaining about the fact that CBS will not be fact checking. I mean, what's wrong with people, right? What's the problem? You aren't they supposed to be moderators? Let's see here. Let's go to this comment I put up on X. Here we go. Let me put this on the screen for you guys. There we go. Okay, so, all right, so this clown, I'm calling this person a clown because of the comment they put up. That's what a clown would say. CBS refusing to fact check the VP debate shows that when bad faith actors work the refs, they win. What? That makes no sense. Anytime you watch a football game, you don't want the refs deciding the game. What are you talking about? I don't want the refs deciding who won the debate. Just do what CNN did. Just let them duke it out, right? And then let the viewer at home figure it out. And if they're too lazy to do their research, well, that's on them, right? I don't understand why they think people need saving all the time. So anyways, I put actually it shows that they believe the responsibility rests with the candidates and the viewers at home can figure things out for themselves. There's a reason they are called moderators, not fact checkers. Now, CBS did say that they're going to be fact checking online on their website, and good for them. But people can just do their own research, right? So the first issue going into this debate is the fact checking. I don't need to see any fact checking. I don't care for that. Let me see how they perform. Let me see how they fact check each other. That's what we want to see. ABC hosted the worst debate in history. At least all the debates I've seen. I mean, that debate with Joe Biden and Trump wasn't fun to watch because it was pretty much two old men screaming at each other. No one wants that. But yeah, that debate with Trump and Harris, well, Trump versus Harris and the two moderators, that was not fun to watch. I don't even care if you don't like Trump. You don't want to see the refs involved. It just doesn't make sense to me. So yeah, that's the first issue. Now, the second issue is going to be, what should you be looking for in this VP debate? Like, what are the two weaknesses from these candidates? And, what should these candidates focus on? Well, if we just think about J.D. Vance for a second, the weakness with J.D. Vance is his approval rating is lower than Tim Walz. Why is that? Because J.D. Vance gets negative coverage just like Trump. They don't say anything positive about J.D. Vance, but they say 100% positive about Tim Walz. Now, what I've noticed since recording these videos and getting involved in politics, I noticed this. ABC, NBC, MSDNC, CBS, 100% negative. They don't say anything positive about Trump or J.D. Vance whatsoever. Like nothing. And they will not get this. I don't know if you guys know this. These networks that I just said, ABC, NBC, MSNBC, and CBS, they do not interview any conservative authors. They do not like to bring on conservative journalists. I mean, it's once in a blue moon. They do not want opposing opinions on their platforms. Now, CNN, on the other hand, definitely still biased. But if you're going to compare them, they would probably be, if ABC is 100% negative for Trump, CNN would probably be 90% negative for Trump. And the only reason why I say that is because the 10%, they do sometimes expose Kamala Harris. They still don't say anything positive about Trump. They just reserve that last 10% criticizing Kamala Harris. So for an example, CNN is the only one that reported that she supported taxpayers paying for sex changes for transgender inmates, including illegal aliens. CNN reported that. ABC did not want to push that talking point, of course. The other one was that she doesn't answer questions. Jake Tapper exposed Kamala Harris on that. Dana Bash, she didn't make excuses either. She was kind of like, yeah, she was very evasive. Now, Stephanie Ruhle, if you guys watched that recent interview with MSNBC, she made 1,000 excuses for Kamala Harris and why she didn't have to answer any questions. So I say all that to say, when we're thinking about this debate and J.D. Vance, that J.D. Vance is already going in with a disadvantage. Just like Trump was going in his debate. It doesn't matter what they do. ABC, NBC, MSNBC, and CBS, 100% negative. Bottom line. And CNN, depending on which program you watch, if Scott Jennings is on there, he's going to keep it real because he's, here's the way that it is. And I'll wrap up this point and move on. So these different companies, it's 4-0. 4 liberal journalists, 0 conservatives. CNN is 3 liberal journalists, 1 conservative. That's what you see on CNN. And Fox News is like CNN, but the other way, pretty much, right? Fox News will allow people to criticize Trump. They usually have one person. If you're thinking about the 5, which is where you have what's his name, Jesse Waters, Gutfeld, Judge Jeanine, I believe her name is, and Jessica. I can't pronounce her last name, but Jessica is the one who criticizes Donald Trump all day long. She's the Scott Jennings of CNN, but for Fox News, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's the bottom line on that. So what is one of JD Vance's weaknesses, I guess, is that the media cannot let go of the single cat lady comment, or the childless cat lady comment, excuse me. And listen, can we use some common sense on this, please? Okay. What's the full context of what he was saying? The full context of what he's saying is that America is in trouble because we don't prioritize marriage and we don't prioritize children. Okay? We pretty much have this whole movement of younger women putting their careers ahead of marriage and children or family. And they are getting to 30, 35, 40, and then they're wanting to have kids, but they have a problem finding men who want to date them at that age. Now, I don't think that's a disrespectful comment. I think that's just the reality of what the paradigm is right now with the younger generation. Most of them don't even want to be married, don't want to have kids. And then when you have kids, your perception of life changes. And here's a mistake that he did make. I will say this. And I tell people this all the time. Oh, what's it like having kids? And I'd say, oh, I can't even tell you. Because it's something that you can only understand when you have a kid. Me trying to tell you what it's like to have a kid, there's no way. There's no words that can describe that feeling. There's no words to describe your perception on life. Because it impacts you spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, in all different ways, financially. So trying to explain it, maybe he shouldn't have done that. But again, that's going back to trying to change someone from who they are. And I don't think JD Vance needs to apologize for anything. I think JD Vance is an example of the American dream, where he was born with a mom who clearly was a drug addict herself, and he figured it out, and he went to Yale and became very successful. Why are we criticizing him for that? But that's what the corporate media is focused on. Some comment he made 3 years ago, just like when Trump made the comment about women, when he was in the, I guess his conversation was being recorded, and he made a comment about women. Political correctness. That's what liberals are so focused on. Well, he said that, so that means that he must be this and that. No, you judge people based off what they do, not always based on what they say, because no one's a robot. We're always going to say something and it doesn't come out the way that we were thinking it, right? But again, that's not how the corporate media thinks, of course. We know that. They don't care about the truth. So that's the big thing for him. Now, for Tim Walz, we know what his problem is, and there's plenty of them. But the question is, will JD Vance make sure that he brings those problems up, right? So Tim Walz is Kamala Harris, but the male version. She spends a lot of time saying, yeah, if you saw both of us in the room, you wouldn't think we were alike or that we would know each other. Yeah, I would. Both of you guys are airheads. Both of you guys can't talk about policy to save your life. Both of you guys avoid the media. Both of you guys have policies that will destroy this country. And Tim Walz has a clear record of doing that to his own state. That's why if you remove California, the second state with the most people who left and went to another state is Minnesota. I had to look that up myself. That's crazy. So what does that say about him as a governor? His policies are radical too. He is Gavin Newsom, but he's from Minnesota. I mean, that's what it is. The results tell the story. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. So if most people are leaving your state, clearly your state is doing something wrong. And so will JD Vance check Tim Walz on those facts? Well, hopefully he does. Listen, we can get into all of the crazy radical policies from Tim Walz. I think you guys already know what it is. So in this debate, the weakness with Tim Walz is that, one, he has avoided the media. Two, he is not clear on any of his policies that they're trying to run on right now. Three, he has a history of lying about his military service record, lying about what he's done as a governor. And let me touch on the military service record really quick, and then we'll get into a couple clips I want to play about this debate. And let me go here as I get that ready. So, it's one of those things where I would scream this at the top of my lungs, or take a syringe of common sense and pump it into these people on the corporate media channels, because the way they covered this is a disrespect to all veterans. And even the veterans who chose politics over military ethos, military ethics, okay? Integrity in the military was one of the ethos, which stands for, it's one of leadership. So it's loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, personal courage. Integrity is doing the right thing when no one is watching. And when no one was watching, what did Tim Walz do? He tried to retire at a rank he was not at. Then he went into Congress telling people that he retired at the command sergeant major rank, and he wasn't. The analogy that I give people is, it's like, let's say you're a school teacher right now. You've been a school teacher for 24 years. The what are those people called? The people who are in charge of the district, the superintendent, right? The superintendent and the higher ups come to you and say, hey, you know what? We want you to become the next principal of the local high school. And so what we're going to do is we're going to prematurely change your pay on paper to be the principal of that school, on the condition that you're going to go to this principal academy that's going to take you about 1 year to complete. And when you graduate from that academy, it will be official and permanent that you are a principal. Okay. Well, let's say they came to you with that offer and you say, all right, I'm going to do it. And then 2 months in, you say, you know what? I'm getting out. I don't want to do this. I'm going to go to Congress. Are you, and then not only do you say that, but then you say, I'm retiring. So let's all use our mind here. At that point, when you retire, what are you retiring as? As a principal or a school teacher? You retire as a school teacher, not a principal, because you didn't even complete the academy. You didn't even serve as a principal, really. So that's the problem with Tim Walz. And maybe you say, well, DeVory, it's not really a big of a deal. Okay, sure, fine. I'll give you that. But here's where it becomes a big deal. For the rest of his life, he's going to continue to tell people that he's a retired command sergeant major. When he ran for Congress, he told people he was a retired command sergeant major. The bio on his governor website, on the Minnesota website, says that he's a retired command sergeant major. So what does that mean? That means he used his military service for political gain. Now, let's not be stupid. Everybody does that to some extent. I am a combat veteran, or I served for this amount of years. That's all come to be expected. But when you lie about it or misrepresent it, then you're crossing the line. And that line is called stolen valor. That's what he did. He's trying to say he's a rank that he wasn't. And the media tries to bury that. And we went through that whole scandal and stuff like that. And the media truly didn't care, to be honest, but we know what the truth is. So let's see if J.D. Vance brings that up during the debate. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. I hope he does, because it speaks to Tim Walz and his character as a candidate. And now let's talk about this really quick. So the point of this VP debate is what? For the two VP candidates to truly go at each other? Technically, no, it's not. The purpose of the VP debate is for each candidate to attack the person at the top of the ticket. So Tim Walz should actually not be responding to J.D. Vance, and he should just be attacking Trump all day long. And J.D. Vance shouldn't really be responding to Tim Walz. He should be attacking Kamala Harris, because when people go to the polls, they're not voting for Tim Walz or J.D. Vance. They're voting for Kamala Harris or Donald Trump, right? There's a big difference in that. So that's the way that we see it when it comes to the debate. And now let's play a couple of clips here where some of these people on the news channel here are talking about Tim Walz and J.D. Vance. But the first clip I want to play you is Tom Emmer, who's in the House of Representatives. He's been helping J.D. Vance prep for the debate. And here's what he had to say about Tim Walz, because he's from Minnesota, and he knows Tim Walz personally, I guess. And he had a lot to say about him. Let's take a look at that really quick.
You have been tapped to play Harris's running mate, your fellow Minnesotan there, Governor Tim Walz, in Senator J.D. Vance's debate prep. Can you tell us a little bit about how that's going and what your approach is?
Well, my job, I've known Tim, probably since he was first elected almost 20 years ago, and I worked with him directly for 4 years. I spent the last month just going back all of his old stuff to get his phrases down, his mannerisms, that sort of thing. My job was to be able to play Tim Walz so J.D. Vance knows what he's going to see.
What's a little different than how you're playing right now? A little more folksy? What is your vibe there?
Yeah, Tim's been a complete disaster in Minnesota, and what's happened is he's so good at being this folksy, nice, kind of down-to-earth guy until people get to know him and his policies. I don't know if you know this, but his old congressional district, where he played this character for several years of being kind of a folksy, ag-friendly outdoorsman, he lost it in both of his gubernatorial races, in the last one almost by 10 points. He's not well-liked because once you get to know the real Tim Walz, he's like Gavin Newsom in a flannel shirt.
Wow. Some choice words, right? I think Tim Walz is Kamala Harris, but just the male version. People don't really like them because they're fake. Okay? Tim Walz is fake. He does not strike me as a person who's authentic whatsoever. There's just something about him and his mannerisms and the way that he reacts that makes me feel that way. I just don't see it. I just don't see it. And so let's go to Scott Jennings, who had this to say about Tim Walz. And actually, before I get to that clip, why do I say that he's the male version of Kamala Harris? Because their policies are the same. It's pretty crazy. I mean, everything that he's done, she would do too. She would try to defund the police. There's no question about that. I think we all agree, right? She probably would have did the same thing in the reaction to the George Floyd. She would have delayed the National Guard. He's literally Kamala Harris, but the male version. So, I don't think they're really different in that regard. And that's a problem for our country, right? Because they're both radical as you can get. And let's see here. Let's go here. Let's hear what Scott Jennings has to say about this. Let me run that. All right.
Well, Walz is a buffoon. I'm sorry. This guy, he's the only school teacher in America who brags that none of his students can get into an Ivy League school.
I had 24 kids in my high school class, and none of them went to Yale.
He's had one consequential press interaction with our Dana Bash, who asked him about the fabrications in his own resume, and his answer was essentially, me no understand words good.
My wife, the English teacher, told me my grammar's not always correct, but again,
I mean, he's a buffoon. He's on a free ride for running under Harris. He gets very little press. They don't let him talk to the press for a reason. I want one thing out of this debate. I want J.D. Vance to go out there and get under his skin. He has legendary hot, short temper. A lot of governors do, but apparently he does. I want J.D. Vance to go out there and have him explain why he is denigrating J.D. Vance's story. Small town America ends up making something better out of his life, which is something we should want for every kid. Well, Walz is a buffoon. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he is a buffoon. I mean, he acts like a buffoon. There's no question about it. I mean, God, the way that he responds and like how he behaves. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw the Michigan clip when he went to Michigan, and he got booed and all this other stuff, and he flipped off a MAGA supporter. But this guy, he's weird, right? He calls other people weird, but he's really the weird one. But yeah, I don't think he's going to do great in that debate. If they're going to let them duke it out, and it's not going to be three people versus J.D. Vance, then I don't think that's a good thing for Tim Walz. What do you guys think about this? I mean, who do you think is going to win the debate? Let me know in the chat. It doesn't matter anyway. I mean, J.D. Vance could bomb that debate, and it's not really going to make a difference. Okay, I think the only person who can derail this campaign is Trump himself, and I think he's done everything a person could do to bomb this campaign, and it hasn't worked. So, and I say that because of the reaction and how triggered people get because of what he says. That's what I mean by that. And so you have the debate tomorrow, which we will be going live, so you guys can join us tomorrow live for that. I think it starts at we're going live at 5:30 Pacific time, so California time, so we'll see what happens. But my bottom line is this: JD Vance is definitely a much more polished politician, in my opinion. Both of them clearly have been, well, let me say it this way. Technically, Tim Walz has been more successful than JD Vance because Tim Walz is older. He's been in the government longer, and he's been a governor, and he was part of Congress. So resume-wise, Tim Walz is ahead of him because he's older than him. JD Vance just became a senator. So, you know, on paper, okay, I guess that's a great thing for Tim Walz. But in reality, when you actually see him, it just doesn't make sense. So let's take a look at that clip that I was talking about where he was flipping off the MAGA reporter, or supporter, that is. So let's actually hear it.
Oh, yeah. Trump 2024, baby! Oh, yeah. Trump 2024, baby!
I guess that's his middle finger right there. That's what they're saying. So, yeah. I don't like the guy. I don't think people like him either in his own state. Because if they loved him, I think he'd have a better approval rating as a governor, which he doesn't. And I think most people would not be leaving that state, but that's what you have. Now, after we get past this VP debate, there's a couple more things that are really going to come out and really find out whether or not there will be another debate between Trump and Kamala Harris. Right now, it seems that there's not going to be one. Unless the polls change from this VP debate or some catastrophic event that affects the poll numbers, you're not going to see Trump going against Kamala Harris again. And we all agree that if that's going to happen, it should be on Fox News or an independent place like News Nation, or even make it even more out of the box. Let Joe Rogan do it or something like that, right? But barring anything crazy like that, yeah, I don't think that there will be another debate. All right, so this would be a good time to go back to our super chats. Let's pull those up here. Let's see here. Okay, so the first super chat, I'm trying to see which one I'm supposed to read here for a second. Well, we'll just put it up here, right? So obviously, thanks for tuning in. Kamala doesn't stand a chance against us. That's from my wife there. Thank you. Sonia says, congrats. Thank you for your service. Blessings. Thank you, too. Let's see here. Thank you to Kim McFall. Thank you to Lisa. Thank you to Cheryl. Appreciate you. Let's see here. Thank you to Jamie. Thank you for all your hard work. Sue, thank you very much. Your videos are terrific. I love your take. Thank you. Big G from the group home. Congrats. I've been following you since 25-ish. I've been impressed with the amount of quality content you put out. I knew you'd crush it. Thank you for following me. Appreciate you. Let's see here. Kim McFall says, once Trump is elected, do you think the blue machine will allow him to take office on January 6th? The media is already prepping for the takeover. Yeah, so this is one of the topics that I think is not fairly covered, meaning I don't think most people even know like the actual, how does someone after they've become elected and they're now the president-elect, what are the essential dates that take place where they officially become the president of the United States? Technically, the election is not certified until sometime between January 6th and January 20th, because I think January 22nd is when they actually have the inauguration. So it's not on January 6th, technically. But I don't think they're going to stop him if he wins. I don't think that will happen. I don't think they want the backlash on that. Now, I know who does want that type of smoke. Iran does. They want to assassinate Trump. And I think that the Secret Service and our government is blinded by politics. And so they've been obviously failing on that front to protect the former president. It's just such a sad thing to talk about, because you'd think if there's any agency in the government who's going to be a 100% focus on their job and not politics, it'd be the Secret Service. Well, unfortunately, the leadership of the Secret Service, they are political. The people who are actually Secret Service agents, who are actually in the field, they're not really that political. I mean, there are some who have been caught being biased towards the former president. Like, they'll go on social media and talk crap about him. And that should, they should definitely be removed. Because the Secret Service, they're not supposed to be biased whatsoever. They're just supposed to make sure that they're the president or whoever they're responsible for protecting is protected to the highest standard. And when you have 2 assassination attempts, technically, you can argue there's been 4. So you got Butler, Pennsylvania. You have Arizona. So when he went down to the border and did a press conference, they couldn't even find the guy for like 24 hours, who had threatened to shoot former President Trump. Then you have the one in Mar-a-Lago at the golf club, right? And then you have where I forgot where this was, but it was about 20 of the people who attended the rally got very, very sick. And so a lot of people thought it was like some chemical agent that they put in the air, and they hoped that Trump would, I guess, walk into it or something. I don't know. So technically, you could say probably 2 attempts. Actually, 1 attempt where they got the shot off. The second attempt where they were in position to get a shot off. The third attempt where they were not even in a position to get a shot off because they were on the run. And then the fourth one was they didn't use firearms. They used chemical agent. It's not confirmed because the media doesn't want to talk about it for some reason. But yeah, the Secret Service, yeah, they're in trouble because politics have clouded their credibility. And I'm sure the Secret Service agents don't like that. And I can relate, because when you're in the military, the higher you go up, the more political it is. So lieutenant colonel, general, that's all politics. That's all politics. That's all, whoever's trying to advance their career, whoever's trying to make a name for themselves, whoever's loyal to someone. Yeah, that's what it's about at that point. And that's what happened with the Secret Service. Kimberly Cheadle, she's loyal to President Biden. She was a Secret Service agent on Vice President Biden's detail. She's not going to do anything that's really in the best interest of Trump. Of course not. And then Mayorkas, who the Department of Homeland Security is in charge of the Secret Service. Oh, that guy? Talk about someone who should be impeached. He should be impeached. And it's funny that he's not. Let's see here. Cole Hagan says, checking in, I think Kentucky, checking in, where do you recommend I go for unbiased news and politics? I think mainstream wise is going to have to be News Nation. News Nation does a great job of bringing on equal sides. So if you have 2 conservatives, you're going to have 2 liberals or 2 people on the left. If you have 1 on the right, you're going to have 1 on the left. And the moderators or the journalists or the anchor, they try not to be like they're trying to push like a narrative or something like that. Now, I'll give you an example. Let's see here. Actually, I'm not even going to mention that. If you're talking about mainstream, News Nation. If you're talking about independent, you can argue Bill O'Reilly, believe it or not, even though he used to be on Fox News, I find him to be very fair. He criticizes Trump, but a lot of his talking points are rooted in common sense. That's why I don't mind listening to him. So I would probably say those two. And he goes on News Nation a lot too, by the way. So that says something there. Yeah, hopefully that's the answer. I mean, obviously, if you consider Daily Wire, I mean, clearly they're ultra conservative, right? So, I think independent wise, you can't go with Tucker Carlson because he's ultra biased. We know that. And I'm just being very objective here, right? I'm biased, right? So I wouldn't promote myself as a person who's truly always neutral, right? I'm definitely on the conservative side. I'm not ceding any policy to these progressive hacks. I'm not whatsoever. I just do not think anything they stand for is going to help this country. So if you're looking for both sides of the equation on mainstream wise, go to News Nation and you can watch a couple of people and maybe you'll find what you're looking for there. Let's keep it moving here. Charlene says, keep making these informative videos. It tells the audience about your life experiences. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Thank you, Charlene. Helen says, thank you so much for all you do. Thank you for watching. Let's see here. She also sent me another one. Congratulations. Thank you. Let's see here. Kimberly Ashcraft puts, congrats on 250K. My utmost respect to you for your work you put into your channel. It's amazing. Thank you for sharing the truth and your wisdom. You will be a huge part of saving our country. Thank you. So will you. Lori, just found your channel about a week ago. You do good work. Thank you, Lori. Appreciate you. We have a question from Don. How come Biden won't step in on this port strike? Isn't he overall responsible? Yeah, so let's talk about that because that's a story flying under the radar that is obviously going to be a problem. And that problem starts tomorrow. And if you guys don't understand what's going on, let's talk about it. So we know Joe Biden has been asleep at the wheel. We know that he spends his days on the beach, and that we know that the Democratic Party has been celebrating his early retirement. This is why that you've been seeing him at all these award shows, and Nancy Pelosi goes onto the news and says, oh yeah, he should be on Mount Rushmore, when just a few weeks back she was ready to put a knife through his throat. But okay. And so because that's been happening, once again, the Democrats or the people in charge are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And right now you're having where workers who are part of a collective bargaining agreement that are not satisfied with their wages. These are workers who work where? At the ports. So there's a port, obviously, in Corpus Christi. There's in Texas. Excuse me. There are ports, Savannah, Georgia. I assume there's a port over there, right? There's ports all up the East Coast. So we're talking about the southern east, right? Right, the South and East America, right, all along the coast and into the Gulf, all of those ports, those workers are planning to go on strike tomorrow, Tuesday. And if they go on strike, you know what's going to happen, right? Think about logistics, food, right, products. Inflation is going to hit again because that's what happened to us during COVID. One of the reasons why prices skyrocketed is because these companies could not get the product fast enough to sell to these people who want to buy them. That's how inflation happens. When the demand supersedes the supply, the price goes up. So that's what potentially will happen if this strike goes through, because the workers aren't going to show up to work. So that means operations are going to pretty much cease to exist, and it's going to be, or it's going to leave the economy over there scrambling. And to really show you how disconnected and out of touch the current Secretary of Commerce, and you guys are going to be laughing when you find out or you recall who this is, this woman who's a surrogate for Kamala Harris, what she had to say about this strike that is happening. Let's listen to it here.
Where have you been kind of focused and hearing on what would happen if the strike goes, let's say, longer than a week?
Again, I have not been very focused on that.
Where have you been kind of focused and hearing on?
She hasn't been focused on it. You know why? Because they're always focused on the wrong things. This is the MO of the Democratic Party, especially over the last 8 years. They're so focused on defeating Trump, they forget to do their job. Her job first is the Secretary of Commerce. This is her wheelhouse. Okay? Then it's help Kamala Harris get elected. Right? Now, I know reality-wise that isn't going to be a thing because we're 30 days out from the election, right? So who cares? But this is bad timing for them because if they don't show up, it's going to be a problem. And so as you can see at the bottom there, it says port strike set to begin tomorrow. Longshoremen's Union, that's the name of the union. Employers refuse to address wage issues. Now, here's the kicker with this, or I guess the wrench in this entire conversation. You guys heard me say collective bargaining agreement. So that means the government can't step in and do anything about this, really. This is truly between the employees and the employer. Collective bargaining agreement is a private agreement. So it supersedes government policies around this type of issue. So what can the government really do about this? Probably nothing. I'm not too sure. Now, I'll be honest, I'm not really too versed on union policies, but I do know that. Let me show you the screenshot that I was able to find really quickly here, where it tells us the locations. So Houston, okay, so not Corpus Christi, Houston, okay. New Orleans, Mobile, Alabama, Savannah, yeah, I was right. Jacksonville, Tampa, Miami. Let's see here, Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York, Boston. So yeah, prices will go up. What did Kamala Harris say? Prices are going up, right? Yeah, I mean that's what's going to happen. Oh, this guy's ready. Look at this. Look at this. This guy's stocked up already because he believes that once they go on strike, these supplies are going to become scarce. Oh my God, this is bad timing. Think about this. Let's go back to this. North Carolina, Wilmington. North Carolina right now, they're in shambles because of the hurricane. South Carolina in shambles. Georgia in shambles. Florida in shambles. And this is bad timing. There's a natural disaster right now. And then the ports are about to close. Oh, good thing there's not another hurricane coming through this week or tropical storm. So this is on the watch of, obviously, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And we'll see how much it actually impacts them. I'm not too sure. But I think it's not going to mean anything positive. All right, let's see here. Susie, she writes, will J.D. Vance bring up documents on Walz's connection to the CCP? Good question. So I don't know if you guys have been following this. I'll bring this up for you guys as well. So we already know that Tim Walz, he's in love with China. We know this. And I guess now there's been a whistleblower revealing more ties that Governor Walz has to the CCP. And this was published by GOP Oversight Committee. Let me go to it. There it is. Where they say, breaking. Chairman Comer is subpoenaing DHS after Department of Homeland Security after whistleblower reveals information on Governor Walz's ties to the CCP. According to recently received whistleblower disclosures, we've learned of a non-classified Microsoft Teams group chat among DHS employees and additional intelligence reports that contain information regarding a long-standing connection between the CCP and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. And this is the letter that they typed up here. All right, now, in case you guys don't know what CCP stands for, that's Chinese Communist Party. All right. Some people say that he went to China 30 times. And by the way, I guess the campaign today came out and said that, actually, Tim Walz was incorrect when he said that he'd been to China 30 times. It was actually more like 10 or 12. They're always having to clean up behind him because he's always lying about whatever he's done for some reason. So hopefully they bring it up. I don't know if it's going to make a difference in the election. I think maybe more for political junkies, this is a spicy topic, but someone who isn't really following this stuff, I don't think they really care about that. I don't think, because they just don't have the information. They don't even understand the implications of what that can mean. So I'm not too sure if it's going to work. Okay. All right. So great question. All right, let's go to the next one. Smiley Kylie 30 says, congrats, blessings to you and your family. Thank you. And Derek Ray says, what's your analysis on Harris's proposal to tax unrealized investment gains? Let's actually look that up. Let's look it up. All right, let's see here. I want to see if I can find an actual, here it is. This is what I was looking for. Actually, let me go here. Because I want to actually show you guys that I was looking at it the other day. I just didn't save it. But there's an actual bullet point on everything in the tax plan. Because remember, when you're watching this stuff on the news or on social media, they're not reporting the entire story of what's actually in her tax plan. And what's cool, let me bring this up. There's a website called taxfoundation.org, and they have reviewed her tax plan, and they give you the bottom line, top line preliminary estimates. So it will negatively impact our GDP in the long term. It will negatively impact wages by 1.2%, and it will reduce full-time jobs by almost 800,000. That's what they're saying, the Tax Foundation. Now, I don't know who funds the Tax Foundation. I don't know if they are left-leaning or right-leaning. So this is the first time that we are looking at this, okay? Let me turn it to this way. There we go. Easier to read when it's like this. Okay, so let me scroll down to some parts that really make a difference for me and you. I'll skip the business part right now, and then we'll circle back. Major individual capital gains and estate tax normal provisions model. She wants to expand the base of the net investment income tax to include non-passive business income and increase the rates and the additional Medicare tax to reach 5% on income above $400,000. So obviously, if you make more than $400,000, she's going to raise the taxes on you. And she shows that by the next bullet point, increase the top individual income tax normal rate to 39.6% on income above $400,000. And then if you're married or you're a joint filer, it's $450,000. Okay. Tax long-term capital gains and qualified dividends at 28% as opposed to 39.6% that was in the Biden budget. Okay, so there's a difference. Okay, here's the unrealized capital gains that you were asking about. If you make $1 million or more, all right, hold on. Actually, let me back up. It says tax unrealized capital gains at death above a $5 million exemption. That's right here. I don't know if you guys see that. Okay. So obviously people who are considered to be rich. Limit retirement account contributions for high income taxpayers. Tighten rules related to estate tax. Tax carried interests as ordinary income for people earning more than $400,000. Limit 1030 like-kind exchanges to $500,000 in gains. Man. So pretty much what she's doing is what all progressives think is the right thing to do. They believe that anyone who pretty much, based on this, anyone who makes $400,000 or more, you are not paying your fair share. So I need to tax more, right? I need to take more money out of your pocket, because even though you've done the work and you've sacrificed and you made smart decisions and you made a lot of money, yeah, but we need to take more money and then we need to give it to people who haven't really earned it. That's what she's going to do. That's really the ideology. They punish people for being rich. That's why the government hates Elon Musk so bad. And the fact that he endorsed Donald Trump makes things even worse for him. So, yeah, that's her tax plan on the individual level. Let's see here. Expand the Section 195 deduction limit for startup expenses from $5,000 to $50,000. I've done so many responses to this. She tries to use this as a way to tell people that she's all for small business. Lady, if you were truly for small business, what this should say is create a government grant that is $50,000 for new startups, so I can access the money right now. Tax deduction does not give me the ability to access money. What it does is just gives me the ability to write more stuff off. So I don't know why she tries to use that as a talking point. It's dumb. Major tax credit provisions. She wants to make the child tax credit permanent and increase the child tax credit for newborns to $6,000 in the first year of life. Okay, I fine. Permanently extend the ARP earned income tax credit. Expansion for workers without qualifying children. Okay, provide a $25,000 tax credit for first-time home buyers over 4 years. So I didn't know it was a tax credit. I thought it was a down payment assistance. I guess it's two things. So I was saying earlier in the video when she did that disastrous interview on the podcast, All the Smoke, that she's treating symptoms, I guess, is what would probably be the best thing to say. But it's not actually solving the root cause of the problem. The problem right now in our economy is not that people don't have opportunities. Okay. People don't have opportunities. What that is a symptom. Why do they not have opportunities? They don't have opportunities because it costs too much money to do anything. So this tax plan doesn't put any money in anybody's pocket right now. It puts money in people's pocket, if at all, later on down the road. So you're not addressing the root cause of the problem, which is the cost of everything. And she can't, because that would mean she'd have to acknowledge that her and Joe Biden has failed over the past 3.5 years. Let's see here. All right, let's go back up to the business side of it. So she wants to raise corporate income tax from 21 to 28%. I think that she shouldn't do that. If you guys are wondering why she shouldn't do it, let me tell you, it's very simple. So what is the biggest expense for a business? In case some of you guys have never owned one, and trust me, you're not missing out on anything. The biggest expense for a business is usually labor. Okay, so that's one. And then tax, that's two. And then the third thing is the product that they're selling. Okay, so usually products average about 30%. Labor usually averages about 30%. And then, of course, you have tax, which is, if you're in California, it's definitely 30%. So you're already at 90%. That's why people have to charge the prices that they do, not because they're trying to price gouge, which is a whole nother thing that she tries to push. So raising the tax on corporations is not going to be helpful. If your objective is to make this an opportunity economy, taxes wouldn't be the way to go about it. Taxing businesses wouldn't be the way to go about it. That I don't understand where she's getting that from. But, that's what woke gets you. So, all right. Let's see here. Trace Johnson writes, hey, Devore, what was the event or circumstances that got you to start a YouTube channel and discuss politics, just personal interest, COVID, certain election, etc.? Well, I think it's accumulation of everything that's taken place over the past 4 years. So, I don't know if you guys have heard of this. Let me see if I can find it. Let me answer your question this way. Let me answer your question this way. Let me bring this up. If it lets me open it up. Hold on. It's not letting me. All right. So let me get to the bottom line on this one. I started the YouTube channel. I already had a YouTube channel, but I used to talk more about mindset. And I think what the world needs right now, especially in our country, is common sense on a lot of these issues that they are, they're stressed out about, or they don't know what's going to happen, right? And obviously, speech has been censored in a huge way. So there's not many people doing what I'm doing. It's really a small selection if you think about it. But yeah, I mean, that's why I'm doing it. People need to hear common sense. I would say I'm pretty good at this, and I do love helping people. So I think that's fair. And if you are the same, then I would do it too. She talks about an opportunity economy as if a lot of people don't have an opportunity. Everybody has an opportunity to do something in their life. The opportunity for me right now is to talk about these things and help people see what the truth really is. And I watch other people, Officer Tatum, Black Conservative Perspective, Jericho Green, Anthony Brian Logan. My wife was watching these people before me, by the way. And then I started to watch them more and more and more. Yeah, that's why I do it for you guys. Let's go back to here. Congrats on the regular part of our daily routine. Thank you, Razor X999. Tracy says, why do mainstream news feeds say she is winning in the polls, but some YouTube poll analysis states he's winning? Confusing. Let me clear up that confusion for you right now. Okay? I think my wife asked me this earlier. They said that he was losing, and I was like, no, that's not true. So the website you guys always want to go to is called Real Clear Polling. This is the #1 thing that is used. Okay? Now, of course, both candidates have their own internal polling. Okay? But right now, according to every single poll that has been released, what is the average of those polls, and what does it mean on the electoral map? It means this right here. So right now, if the election was held today, Donald Trump would be the president. Now, a week ago, if the election was held a week ago, they were saying Kamala Harris was going to be the president. So it depends on when you hear it, right? And where you hear it from. So if you're hearing it from, if someone's quoting Real Clear Polling, that's probably the most accurate place to go look. Now, I did a couple of videos on polls over the weekend, and right now it's looking like this is going to be the outcome that you're looking at right now. I still think it's going to be this. Like if I wanted to do it myself, let me go back to it here. There we go. What I would love to happen is this right here. I want this to happen. 325 to 213. Why? Because I think the Democrats, they need a wake-up call. They've gone too far to the left, and the only way they're going to stop is if they lose this badly. There was a post on X that said, someone put, I hope in this election, the winner wins in a landslide. And I second that. Whether Trump wins or Kamala Harris wins, it needs to be done in a landslide so there's no questioning that that person won. I don't want any, Trump just won by 10 points and he tried to cheat his way. And I don't want Kamala Harris won by 10 points and so the Democrats cheated. We don't want that. That's a losing conversation. No one wins when we go down that road. And it's just going to create more divisiveness, which could lead to violence. So I hope that this is the outcome. Now, I said earlier in this live stream that if Trump just golfed for the rest of October and didn't say anything else to the media, this might be the outcome. Because for what it's worth, the media has mastered the art of programming people to hate Trump, whether we like it or not. So every time that he says something that we all don't mind, we don't care because we know who he is, you'd be surprised at how many people don't know Trump. They know of Trump, but they don't know Trump. They don't know his results. They're passing through and they see what social media is saying or what the news is saying, and they get that little soundbite. So I'm not asking Trump to change. I would probably just tell him, hey, man, you should probably just golf for the rest of October because there's literally nothing else he can do. You guys do understand that, right? He doesn't need to do anything else. He's done everything you can do to win this election. I mean, there's nothing to convince undecided voters as it pertains to Trump. That's the thing. I believe most people don't understand this, and I know there are people who probably know more about polls than I do. But my perception is there is nothing in this world Trump can do to win over an undecided voter today. There's a reason they're called undecided. So if they were going to vote for him, they would say that. So if we're factoring that in right now, and according to the most updated polls, this is where he's at, there's nothing else he needs to do. Right? He doesn't need to draw any more attention. He doesn't need to feed the media any more sound bites. He could literally just travel the country or golf for the rest of October or hang out with your family or just chill because it's interesting. Trump, if based on what I'm saying, Trump actually should campaign less and Kamala Harris needs to campaign more. So Trump did a rally every single day. I don't know if you guys knew that, since last Monday, every single day he's done a rally, a press conference, an interview. So he's been super busy. Kamala Harris only had that one event, which was on Friday for the border stunt, right? Which was a stunt. It was nothing. And then she had a rally in Las Vegas yesterday. But all last week, she was nowhere to be found. So she needs to speak more because undecided voters, they're undecided because they don't know who she is. So from a campaign strategist perspective, she should be doing what Trump is doing, and Trump should probably be doing what she's doing. Like Trump, don't even take any more questions. Barely do any rallies. And golf for the rest of October. Because I don't think what else can he do? He's done it all. He's survived 2 assassination attempts. He's done rally after rally. He's done press conferences. He's been off script. JD Vance has done more press conferences if you combine Trump, Tim Walz, and Kamala Harris. All 3 of them combined still don't supersede the amount of interviews that JD Vance has done. So what does Trump really need to do? Like I stated, Kamala Harris needs to do what he's been doing, but she can't because it's not to her strengths, of course. So I think he's in a great position. I say all that because that's what the polls show. So if you're looking for accurate polling, just go to realclearpolling.com and you'll be able to see it here. And but I really do hope that it's a landslide, so that there is no confusion. There is no, well, you know, someone should. And then we definitely, this is what we don't want. Okay, let me show you this really quick. This is the worst case scenario, by the way, which is why the Republicans tried to change the rules in Nebraska, because remember, Nebraska allows, or what do? They trade their electoral vote with Maine. And so right now she's winning that one electoral vote. And what they're saying is that if she wins that Nebraska district, which is, or not, yeah, no, okay, so I already have it here. So 257. Let's see here. How do you get there exactly? I think it's, let me see here. There's a scenario that they want to avoid. Let me see here. Oh, here it is. I think this is it. Nope, that's not it either. Not really prepared right now. But there is a scenario where it ends up at a tie. Or she can get to exactly 270 based on that district in Nebraska. So, oh, here it is actually. So if Trump wins Nevada, and I think it's this way. Yeah, it's something like this. They don't want this to happen. Is the bottom line, is what I'm saying, because actually this is it right here. Sorry guys to keep you guys waiting. So if she wins Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, and Virginia, and she loses Arizona and Nevada, she would be exactly at 270. Why? Because the district in Nebraska is one electoral vote, and that's where she's winning. But if I change that, which is what the Republicans were trying to do to make it a winner-take-all state, it would be this. So if it was a winner-take-all state, the election could be this, and that would mean that it would have to go to the House of Representatives, which is controlled by the Republicans, of course. But again, we don't want that to happen because that's just too much drama. I don't think anybody can handle that emotionally. So hopefully, not hopefully, I think reasonably this is what the result is going to be. I think reasonably this is what will end up happening. This right here. If we take what happened in the last election, I think reasonably this is what's going to happen. Now, I'm interested to see if that new poll out of North Carolina was accurate. They're saying that she would win that, but even if she did, and Trump, I guess, won, let's say Wisconsin, he would still be the president. So, anyways, I'm done playing with this. But yeah, you guys can go here. You guys can look at the polls. If you want to look at all the latest polls that came out, you can yourself. And they come out like this, right? So there you go. All right. Oh, there we go. Look, North Carolina, Trump is up by 2. So yeah, there was just one that came out where he was down. So he's up in Pennsylvania. Yeah. All right. Let's go back here. All right. So we're going to wrap up here shortly in about 10 minutes. Let's see here. Lori writes, Trump's previous tax reductions expire in 2025, and from what I understand, they will automatically increase our taxes. Yes, that is correct. John writes, any thoughts on the likelihood of anything shady happening in states without same-day ballot counting? Well, listen, yeah, I mean, but that's why I just went through what I went through. The only way that doesn't matter is if either candidate wins in a landslide. Because the Democrats could cheat, but they can't cheat in a way where, she wins every single battleground state. I mean, so hopefully whoever wins, they win in a landslide and it's not close. The Joe Biden versus Donald Trump, come on. There's some fraud going on for sure. To what degree and how much did it impact the election could be debated, but to say that there wasn't any is being disingenuous. And so this time around, I'm not too sure that it will be the same because so much has changed since 2020. And you have more people watching, where people are casting their ballot. And you have more people more cautious about their ballot this time around. And you do have a couple of states already suing each other back and forth over election integrity. Sun Tzu Me, excellent work, much respect. Thank you very much. Tracy D writes, I think him visiting hurricane areas should gain votes over Joe and her. I'm impressed. Yeah, I mean, let me tell you guys this. Making these videos have really taught me a lesson about what's happening in our country. What do I mean by that? Things are happening so fast that no one's going to remember. The only people who are going to remember what happened with the hurricane are people who are actually impacted by it. They will remember, especially people who had their house flooded, right? Or lost a loved one, or their house is gone. Those people will remember, but not people in California, not people in Michigan. Time's going to keep going. And it's like, it was just a couple months ago, that debate with Joe Biden. I mean, think about how much has happened since then. So, and then obviously the media covered. So I'm not too sure it's really going to matter in the end. Let's see here. Unfiltered Truth writes, hey, can you give me advice to start a reaction politics channel? The advice is just to start. To be disciplined and educate yourself, and to be honest and authentic. That would be the advice. I think that's the advice for anything we set out to be. Okay, so reminder for everyone here, it's also a question. Are you registered to vote? Right? And if you are registered to vote, put a 1 in the chat. Okay, let's see it. If you are registered to vote, put a 1 in the chat. And if you're not, then for my moderator, can you put vote.org in the chat for people to go to, and you can easily register. In fact, I'll visually walk through it for you guys in case there is someone watching and you're not registered. It's so easy. It just takes a couple of clicks. Vote.org, exit out of that. If you're not sure if you registered before, then click on that. If you've never registered, you just click register to vote, fill out your name, hit submit. Or what you could do, which is another way, is to go to your state, right? You can just Google your state, register to vote California, right? And obviously the first link is going to be the link, register to vote now. So it's that simple. I mean, it takes less than 5 minutes. I mean, it's not difficult for sure. And, say what you want about California, but they are definitely ahead of the game. I mean, if you do anything with the state, one of the questions automatically is, are you registered to vote? If not, do you want to register now? Like if I want to get my driver's license renewed, if I'm going to go do my passport, if I'm going to update my registration for my car, it's always a question. So they are they're on it. And if you are registered to vote and you're going in person, bring a group of your friends with you, right? So if you are going in person, leave a 2 in the chat. Let us know if you're going in person. I'm going in person. My wife and I will be going in person and voting. We, like in California, they automatically mail you a ballot and we always ignore it. We just go in person and vote. But if you're going in person, to vote on that day, put a 2 in the chat and make sure that you bring someone, please. Okay. Sophia wrote, don't know when to vote though. I hear vote early in person. Sophia, what state are you from? What state are you from? Because that has a lot to do with it. Let's see here. Let's see if she responds. Let's see. I'm not seeing her comment. All right. We got another super chat here. Let's go to it. Jose Garcia writes, do you believe the war in Ukraine will escalate in October to influence the election? Okay. It's a great question. No, I don't think so. I'm not too sure what else Russia and Ukraine can do. I mean, it's like a stalemate at this point. The only reason why Ukraine is even still in this war is because they're being funded by America. If it wasn't for America, Russia would have eradicated them already off of the planet. There's no question. But the fact that they're funded and we give Ukraine weapons, then, they have a fighting chance, of course. So I'm not too, both countries are losing at this point. Millions of people have died in this conflict. I wonder what the current number is right now. Russia versus Ukraine casualties. Let's see where it puts it up at right now. Well, let me show you guys. Let's see where it puts it up at. It says up to 1 million estimated casualties. Wow, that's terrible. 1 million. Yeah, so both countries are losing at this point. I'm not too sure what they plan to get out of it at this point. It's a loss either way. But great question. Great question. I think what's more likely to happen, and if you guys want me to answer any of your questions, last call, put your super chat in and I will answer it. If you have any other questions, this is Ask Me Anything. I will answer them. Okay, so Sophia is from Minnesota. All right, so let's do this, Sophia. Very easy. You go over to Google. You type in Minnesota general election timeline 2024. It's always on the Secretary of State. That's the whole purpose of the Secretary of State, is to tell people what the dates are. So January 19th, which already passed, vote by, that doesn't seem correct. Oh, that's the presidential primary. I was like, what? That doesn't make any sense. All right, here we go. Let me zoom in. Okay, we're in October at this point. So you need to register in advance by October 15th so that when the election day comes, you can vote without being delayed. It doesn't look, it says vote by mail or in person September 20th through November 4th. So yeah, you could vote right now in Minnesota. That's what it looks like to me. Vote early in person. Yeah, so you can vote right now. Oh, that's interesting. Yep, it's right here. General election. First day to vote early in person, Friday, September 20th. Now, obviously, the next question is, oh, well, where are the locations? Well, it's right here, voting locations before Election Day. Boom. You choose your county, and you're good to go. Hopefully that was helpful. All right. let's see here. What will be the October surprise? That's a great question because you know they got something else up their sleeve. I don't know what else they have. They've already tried to take him out twice. They've smeared JD Vance up and down, right? They've done negative coverage of Trump all the way up to this point. Hi from Sanger. That's lovely. So I don't know what else they have. I guess the only thing is there's a brief that Jack Smith is allowed to make public now, because that whole thing was put on ice for a while, and the judge just approved his ability to publish his response to the Supreme Court. Because remember, the Supreme Court said, no, Trump has presidential immunity, which is he gets full immunity for official acts, but he does not get full immunity for unofficial acts. And that could be, those acts could be, you could bring a case against those acts. And so Jack Smith is just now responding to that ruling to the judge that's on this case. And it won't be sealed. It will be made public so that the media can obviously pick it up and try to smear Trump. And the reason why it's a big deal is because in the brief, he's going to try to lay out all of the evidence that makes Trump the bad guy. And so it remains to be seen how serious the corporate media takes it. Okay. Another thing that you guys can do if you are in a swing state, for the record, you can go to your phone and you could type in Trump47.com. And actually, hold on. Google Trump47 because that's not it. Hold on. Trump47. There we go. And Trump Force. Isn't that what it's called? Trump Force? Yeah, 47.com. There we go. And what you could do is volunteer to be a poll watcher, I guess. You can, they give you training on it and everything. Now, I'm in California, so the only way I could physically get involved in this stuff, I'd have to leave my family and, go to one of these swing states. Now, my brother lives in Georgia, so maybe, just maybe. But if you already live in a swing state, yeah, this is something that you can do, okay? You can volunteer and to be a part of chasing ballots or watching the polls or volunteering for whatever they might need. So I don't know. I'm not too sure if you guys are aware of that or not. Okay. Let's see here. I'm going to take one more question. Okay, here's a good question. What is the point of voting early? Well, the point is to get it out of the way, especially if you're in the military. That would be a reason. Here's the thing I don't understand. Why is it not a holiday? They got a holiday for everything but voting. That makes no sense. That's what we should be advocating for. That right there is why I know the government has no common sense. That is common sense. Gee, we want to make sure that people all have a fair chance to vote, right? You want the illegals to vote in the election. Why don't you just make it a holiday? I don't understand that. It's interesting. Okay, we do have two more super chats. Let's get through them really quick. Crystal P writes, is it true inflation is due to price gouging, and what makes Trump policies better than Kamala? Also thoughts about Haitian lawsuit against Trump. Okay. What creates inflation? Without getting nerdy. What creates inflation is when demand supersedes supply. Okay. So a basic example of that is what? The housing market. The housing market. When there are more buyers than homes that are available, what happens to the value of those homes? It goes up. Like right now, for example, the hurricane hit Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Little Virginia, and Tennessee. There are going to be people who are going to try to buy up land in those areas. You know what the problem is going to be, right? They're going to make the value of those homes go up because there's so much demand to buy the properties. That demand didn't exist previously. Okay? For example, if we go the other way around, if you go back to 2009, 2010, it was the other way. Why? Because there wasn't enough people to buy homes anymore. Nobody had any money. So the supply exceeded the demand. So we needed to come down on the value of homes. People lost all their money in the stock market. People lost their home. They went bankrupt, all that stuff. The economy, the consumers were not spending money in 2010. That's why prices dropped. The problem we find ourselves in today is people are still spending money. So that's how inflation happens, when demand supersedes supply. Now, it's not always because of, people wanting to spend money. It's what I just was talking about with the strike that's going to happen tomorrow. So if the strike happens at the port and the port operations shut down, what does that mean to the local retail store? They're not getting their products in. So what does that mean? They can't meet the demand. So what does that mean? The demand goes up because the supply has dropped because they're not getting the supply from the ports. Inflation is going to go up. So it's not due to price gouging. Price gouging is, a best way to put it is, it's a strategy for a company to make money on the back of a disaster or opportunity in the market. So for an example, here's a great example, the hurricane right now. What's one of the top products that people need out there right now? Right? So let's say right now, to make this simple, let's say toilet paper. Well, the company could say, well, instead of the toilet paper normally being $10, we're going to make this toilet paper now $100. That would be price gouging. Right? Because that's not a reasonable increase, especially if they don't have a supply problem. Right? So if they can meet the demand, but they're still raising the prices that crazy, yeah, then especially when they compare them to other competitors, that would be an example of price gouging. But that's not happening. That's not happening all over the economy. There are companies out there that did that, but that's not. They're not doing that. That's why it's stupid that she runs on that issue. It's empty. Let's see here. Great question, Crystal. Okay, hold on. What makes Trump policies better than Kamala? Well, he was already the president, and we saw what happened then. And let's go through them, I guess, just really quickly here. Let's go through them. There we go. So seal the border and stop the migrant invasion. I don't think I need to go into depth about why that is a good thing, but I'll give you one reason. It would stop the fraud, waste, and abuse, which is happening in these sanctuary cities where billions of dollars the government is spending, but what's happening with it? Yeah. Number 2, carry out the largest deportation operation in American history. I wish it would say carry out the largest deportation for criminal migrants in American history. That's really what he means. I don't think I need to dive into that. End inflation. She's yet to ever talk about that. She has not talked about cost of anything. So there's that. Make America the dominant energy producer in the world by far. Technically, we already are. Stop outsourcing and turn the United States into a manufacturing superpower. Okay, that is a big deal because that means more jobs. Large tax cuts for workers, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security. Those are big deals. She's not offering that. And one more. I already said Social Security. Keep men out of women's sports. I think that's good. Secure our elections, including same-day voting, voter identification, paper ballots, and proof of citizenship. Yeah. Bottom line is he probably won't, if he gets elected, he's not going to be able to do all this because there's 3 branches of government, so that's not going to happen. But if he can get a few of those things on this list done, then that would be a success. All right, let's see here. Jose says, what happened to Pelosi's laptop? Is that the October surprise? Yeah, what happened? Josh Brooks put, enjoyed your content. When is the VP debate happening? Tomorrow we will be going live, 5:30 Pacific time. How is it that we can decipher the polls? Aren't there multiple types of polls? Which poll is more important to follow? I think I went over that already. Realclearpolling.com is where you should go. All right. Puppetgate writes, congrats on the channel success. Not really a question, but I want to invite you to my channel for some hilarious based political puppet skits and rap parodies. Thank you. Will do. Puppetgate. Let me type that into my YouTube so I have it. All right. Got it. Okay. Yep. Time to wrap this up. Your turn to change the diaper. Good job tonight, babe. And last one, Ray Patson writes, why is no one talking about World War III? When you say nobody's talking about it, who are you talking about? Because Trump and Vivek and Tulsi and RFK, they all talk about it. Conservative media talks about it. But, of course, corporate media won't talk about it because you know that already. They're biased. Why would they do that? Why would they do that? All right. So thank you guys so much for joining me today to celebrate you and your support to this channel. Again, the best thing you can do is like, share all the videos that we come out with your friends and family, of course. And then if you want to go further and you have the money, you could always go to the link in the description and grab yourself a t-shirt and buy us a cup of coffee. Those links are always in my videos that I post. Now, the best way to support this entire conservative movement, or if you support Trump this election, doesn't matter if you are all in on the MAGA movement or not. But if you want Trump to win, the best thing to do is to register to vote if you haven't already and actually vote. And then bring people with you to vote. If you're going to vote early or by mail-in ballot, help your friends do the same thing. Ensure that they vote. Do not think for a second that the vote doesn't matter, because it does. Remember, Donald Trump lost Georgia by 11,000 votes. So it matters, okay? It's really easy to think that the votes don't matter. They do. And obviously in California, okay, in that context, it doesn't matter because California is just straight up blue. There's nothing my wife or I could do to change that right now. But if you're in Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Wisconsin, or Michigan, yeah, your vote absolutely matters because your vote will decide this election. No question. My vote won't decide it in California. Another person in New Jersey or New York they're not going to decide the election. You will if you win in the swing state. So make sure you're registered and you show up. And then lastly, keep your faith, keep your optimism, okay? No matter what the outcome may be, God has a plan for us. And this is why we are where we are as a country, because he has taken the time to allow things to happen to wake people up. And that's a good thing. And we should continue to advocate for the truth and to continue to stand up for what we believe in. So thank you guys. God bless you, and appreciate your support. And I'll see you in more videos. Take care, everyone.